Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Big Old Bell movie review brought to you from the Toronto International Film Festival. This film here is a harrowing true story, and I want to say one of the bigger films at this year's film festival. This one here is The Lost Bus, and here's a quick synopsis. A bus driver has to navigate a bus carrying children and their teacher to safety through the 2018 campfire, which became the deadliest fire in California history. This is directed by Paul Greengrass. It stars Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera. Now, because this is a true story, and this fire is a true story about what happened, I'm not necessarily saying everything that happens on the bus is a true story, but because of the fire and everything, and we understand Palisade fires and how big this was in 2018. And this is a story that a lot of people didn't know before this film, and I think a lot of people will thoroughly enjoy after watching this film here, as we're introduced to Matthew's character as he's just the regular downtrodden guy who nothing in life is working out. His kid hates him. His mom is sick. Like, nothing is working well for him on the day of him doing his job one morning, dropping kids off to school. His son gets sick. He attempts to get medicine for his son. At the same time, this raging fire is happening as an electric line drops and it causes a brush fire. And from that brush fire, within hours, it starts engulfing everything humanly possible. What separates the Last Bus from what we normally get in these type of films is Paul Greengrass. If you've ever been familiar with any of his films, and there are films aplenty from United 93 to Sully, like, you understand this is a director that understands how to shoot disaster content. And he understands the importance of not only showing how the disaster weighs on the regular folks, but also how it ravages nature. And here we get some of the most intense scenes of what a fire can do that I've ever seen on film. And through the sound of it, through the visual aspects of it, Paul perfects exactly what it feels like to be engulfed by a fire. And then that is clearly the point of this film, is to show exactly the way this fire just raged out of control and how everyone attempted to stop it, and there was nothing you can do to stop it, as we get the cities having to do these mandatory evacuations. And then that's when we get to getting back to the school that Matthew's character had dropped kids off already, having to go pick them back up, as he was the only bus in the area that can come get 22 kids, load them up in a bus to get them off to safety. And then that's when all the chaos happens. As you can expect, you're in California, you get gridlock traffic, you get this fire as it's starting to just breathe down upon the Palisades and everything surrounding it, and exactly how that wears down on everyone. But again, what makes Paul masterful in his direction is he takes this bus with America Ferrera and Matthew McConaughey and these kids, and he kind of isolates this bus in scenes that gives the film heart. Because in any disaster film, in any film, even if the disaster is inspired by true events, you still need those human elements to keep everybody intrigued here. And as we get the kids on the bus and we get Matthew's character and America Ferrera's character as they trying to look after these kids, giving these kids assurances while they're, as adults, not even sure themselves that any of this is going to work out in a positive way, all of that helps give this film tremendous heart. And along with everything we see on the outside world happening here, whether it be the dispatch depot for the bus and them trying to get in touch with this lost bus to make sure that these kids off to safety, we get the police chief, the fire chief, I'm sorry, as he is just attempting to clear every area humanly possible just to make sure that everything is done in a correct way to make sure that lives are saved, and they try their best to contain this fire. Again, what he also does here great, and I think a lot of this credit will go to Paul for the way this movie is set up, is we get to see the inner workings of the city. We get to see the tough choices that are made. We get to see that for this fire to take place, where normally a lot of people would blame possibly the fire department or the police force or any of these people for any of these issues, we get it in real time and show you that they were doing everything humanly possible to contain this fire. And it was just too big, too fast, because of the winds, because of the way it started, that there was nothing they can do to stop it. But we get just masterful performances from the supporting cast as we get to see the inner workings of the system, along with having the emotional pieces of the bus with the children, with Matthew and America on there, and them trying to keep these kids calm, but also having to deal with their own personal tragedies here. One, Matthew having that sick child, and then him not being able to get in touch with his family, wondering if they were going to survive. And we get America Ferrera's character, and she's worrying about her son to make sure they get off to safety. But they just put every effort humanly possible in keeping these kids safe. Now, by the third act, this is the only thing I want to look up. It is something amazing that happens, and it becomes this fireball racing that we get in this third act that kind of makes you think you're in a completely different movie, and possibly that Bruce Willis is driving a bus all of a sudden. But it just doesn't feel real. But that does not mean that's not what happened, because again, because of the way they set up with this fire and everything that we see and how the fire department was fighting it, and just the casualties that happen from the fire, because this film also does not shy away from showing the effects of the fire on everybody, to let you know, like, this was a serious event. Like, this was something that took lives away. This is something that took homes away. This is something that changed people dramatically. And he does a masterful job of just giving the audience a landscape of everything that's going on. That's partially what makes this film so thrilling, is that you're just engulfed into everything, along with the flames, along with the personal stories, along with the loss of life, the loss of property. And we get to understand that no matter what, there's no way you can stop a raging fire from doing what it's going to do. You just gotta pray that you either contain it or try to hope that it doesn't go on forever. And that's what we get here with this story of the Lost Bus, of just this fire engulfing everything and how it just changed so many lives. This is possibly the best disaster film I've seen in the last couple of years. And again, it's because of Paul's direction here that you get everything you want. Matthew McConaughey, it's always good to see him back on screen, and we get to see him back in movie star mode, because we've seen him do so many independent films at times that we don't get to see him in these type of big budgeted films. And here in this big budgeted film, I think Matthew does an amazing job of conveying his emotions, because that is his talent as an actor, is his ability to show those emotions and have it resonate with the audience, as you completely resonate with his character and everything he's going through, as he's not only trying to save these kids, but he's trying to establish a relationship with his own child at the exact same time. And then there's a backstory about his character and his own father, and how his own father passed away. That really resonates well with his character. And then you get America Ferrera, who does a great job as a teacher here. And I think the most important elements of the film are when we get to see these two actors in this bus with these kids, and that emotional aspect that happens of trying to keep kids calm. And these are little kids, trying to keep them calm, but at the exact same time of keeping the kids calm, them trying to control their own emotions and their own thoughts about what can happen. As it's multiple points in this film where it kind of felt nobody would survive here. And because I kind of knew the story, but I didn't know the full crux of the backstory, which I would say, if you know about the Palisade fires but don't know this story, I wouldn't read up on the story first. I would just go into the film so you can enjoy those aspects of it. And it gives a certain feeling of nothing being inevitable. Like, if you don't know it's going to end positively and you go into this film, you don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen with these kids in this bus. And that's what keeps this film going. That's what keeps this film so thrilling from start to finish. But The Last Bus, brought to you from the Toronto International Film Festival. This is also an Apple film. So I think it's going to play for 2 weeks in theaters, limited release in October. Then it's going to come on a streaming service. But out of a possible 10, I'm giving The Lost Bus a 9 out of 10. This is a solid film. It's going to be a lot of emotions for a lot of people if you watch this film. But I think it also gives more respect to the fire department, more respect to the people, the first responders, and everything that happened in this story of how they attempted to save town after town after town and couldn't, and just understood that it came to the point where Instead of saving property, it was more important to preserve life and the way those decisions come forth here. That's what makes this film great. And there is not a villain necessarily in the film, but there is a conclusion at the end of the film where fault is blamed on one entity that caused all of this to happen. I'm not going to say it because I want you to see the film so you can enjoy it, even from that aspect of it. But check it out when it drops in theaters, because even though it's coming on Apple streaming service, this is definitely something to see in theaters on a big screen. I think that is going to take it to another level for so many people. But check it out when it drops. Let us know what you think. This has been another Big Gold Belt movie review brought to you from the Toronto International Film Festival. Peace, people.
Riveting.